Yo, what's up? What's up? How's everybody doing tonight? How's everybody doing tonight? Hope everybody's good, ready for Thanksgiving and all that good stuff like that. There, um, yeah. Uh, the description says it right. So it's, I mean, everybody pretty much already knows, who doesn't, who does, who doesn't, all that. I had already made everything up. Something came up. I wasn't able to jump on. So, in turn, just going to do a quick recap, rerun a few things about the crash. What everybody was very, very tense. It was tense. It was getting very tense with the whole situation. Like I said, I had everything set up, ready to go, and it didn't work out that way. Uh, we're gonna go ahead and replay couple things, couple things. So if I haven't lost yet at 1 minute and 30 seconds in, I'm sure I will soon. Well, let's see what happened there. What they're claiming.
About before we got that update, but she kind of explained where the idea that this could have been a terror attack came from before we heard from the governor. And she said that high-level police sources said that bomb techs on the scene immediately alerted authorities that this was an attempted terror attack because they had never seen a car explosion with debris field like that before and believed that there were potentially explosives in the car. Government buildings were evacuated, the bridge was closed, the airport had heightened security, and she says that her police sources say that these are all steps that they follow when they believe that there could be a potential terror attack. So, Carl, going off of this too, do you see anything of what she's saying here and understand where she's coming from and what was told to her by police sources? And also, have you been in an instance like this where maybe there was that fear of a potential terror attack that ended up not being the case?
Yeah, Alexi. So I was a supervisor for a joint terrorism task force out in Utah, and I had a situation years and years ago where I was the on-team commander. We had an incident where there was a train passing through the Salt Lake City Valley. There were some holes that were in one of the train cars, and there was a concern that that was a terrorist attack, that somebody had actually shot at the train. So we deployed the Joint Terrorism Task Force. I sent bomb techs out there to evaluate the situation. And what they found when they examined the train is that this particular train actually had some corrosive materials that were starting to leak through the train cars. So it was not bullet holes. But obviously, we were treating it, as the worst possible situation. The highway was closed, people were evacuated, and there still was a hazmat issue there. But fortunately, we were able to rule out it wasn't terrorism. But that then allowed the hazmat people to come in and mitigate that situation. But it's a tough situation to be in because obviously the governor wanted to know what was going on. Other officials want to know what's going on because if it's an act of terrorism, that leads to a whole slew of other security issues that need to be dealt with. Fortunately, in our case, it wasn't, and hopefully it'll be the same case in Niagara Falls as well.
Yeah, and of course, we're all relieved to hear that that wasn't the case. It does give some peace, sense of mind to people who have been following this news. We also want to show viewers another live picture we're getting in right now out of New York City. We also just heard from the mayor, Eric Adams, who is speaking on the big parade that's happening tomorrow. And so, of course, there's heightened security because of all the events, all of the people who are gathering in New York City, and everyone is on high alert, as we've talked about, Carl. But kind of talk about how an incident like today could really, heighten tensions, make people more concerned, and people are already on edge. There's a massive war that's going on in the Middle East, and there's a lot of reason to be fearful when it comes to security. So how did today play a role in what people are going through right now?
Yeah, so this is just a reminder that everybody does need to be vigilant because this is an elevated threat period, right? Because of the issues going on in the Middle East, and people have very strong feelings about the war that's going on in Gaza between Hamas and Israel. But I think it's also important, as the governor mentioned, is that we need to have cool heads and to not panic and wait for the investigation. She mentioned before, this is a fluid situation. So, based on the facts that we have now, it's not looking like an act of terrorism. That could change though. Or there could be some additional facts that come out that solidify the fact that this was just somebody that had some other sort of issue going on. So I think people need to be patient. They need to be vigilant and wait for the facts to come out, before people start panicking.
Yeah, and one other thing we're getting in right now, Carl, that I want to ask you about is another podium that's been set up here. This is out of New York as well. We're expecting to hear from the U.S. Attorney, the Western District of New York, speaking here on the Rainbow Bridge incident. Do you think we're going to get any other information from this news conference than what we got from the governor?
Look, law enforcement works with the prosecutors, which in this case is the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I think they're all going to be very careful to let out any information. They want to make sure that anything they say is based on facts, and it's going to take some time to get all the facts in place. Obviously, as soon as they have facts that would support their conclusions, they're going to want to reassure the public, what that is. But I think for the time being, until we get some more facts, I think law enforcement and the prosecutors are going to be very careful about what they release.
Sure. All right, Carl, thanks so much. You've been so great to speak with here. Do you have any final thoughts or anything else that comes to mind as we continue to follow the details of this incident?
Yeah, I just want to offer thanks to all the officers and the agents that are working. They're going to be working around the clock. I've been in that situation. I've had many holidays ruined because of these type of things. Whether it's a terrorism incident or some other type of thing, there are people that are going to be missing out on Thanksgiving because of this. So I think one of the things that we can all be grateful for is that we've got dedicated professionals working to keep us all safe.
Absolutely. So thankful for them and the work that they do in keeping everybody safe. Carl Schmay, thank you so much, former head of the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. We really appreciate having you on. You've been really great and so knowledgeable to speak with as we followed all of these developments.
Hey, thanks, Lexi, and I hope you have a nice Thanksgiving.
You too. Thanks so much. Stay safe and enjoy your holiday.
You too. Take care.
All right, so we are going to continue following this. Still so much more to get to. As I mentioned, we just heard from New York City Mayor Eric Adams. While he was speaking, we haven't had a chance to bring it to you here just yet, but we also have another live event that we're keeping our eyes on here. And this, again, is the U.S. Attorney of the Western District of New York, who's going to be speaking here also on the Rainbow Bridge incident. So let's step away for another break and take you back out to more of this live coverage in 2 minutes.
See, it's obvious, they've already figured out that it was something completely and entirely different than what they had originally anticipated. Yeah, it's crazy. It's just another situation where I guess you don't know until you know, right? The whole thing's nuts. I mean, obviously by now I'm sure you've seen the video. It's all over the internet. I didn't really see any point in honestly I didn't even see any point in coming on. That's why I'm having such a hard time here because there's nothing to even really talk about except for 2 people lost their life behind this, and it's horrible. So I'm gonna do my best to just keep this quick and as painless as possible, which is not really doable with me right this moment, I think. Anyhow, jump over to right where she cut dude off.
She mentioned before, this is a fluid situation. So,
now,
based on the facts that we have now, it's not looking like
the
an
one
act of terrorism.
press conference
that could change though.
maybe
Or there could be some
you have
additional
seen
facts
or
that
maybe
come
you
out
haven't.
that solidify the fact that this
know.
was just somebody that had some other sort of issue going on. So I think people need to be patient. They need to be vigilant and wait for the facts to come out,
I gotta get
before people
something
start panicking.
new to
Yeah, and one other thing we're getting in right
report
now,
on.
Carl, that I want to ask you about is another podium
horrible.
that's been
This is
set up
horrible.
here. This is out of New York
I
as
appreciate
well. We're
anybody
expecting to hear from the U.S. Attorney, the
sticks in
Western
with this
District
one.
of New York, speaking here on the Rainbow Bridge incident. Do you think we're going to get any other information from this news conference than what we got from the governor?
Look, law enforcement works with the prosecutors, which in this case is the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I think they're all going to be very careful to let out any information. They want to make sure that anything they say is based on facts, and it's going to take some time to get all the facts in place. Obviously, as soon as they have facts that would support their conclusions, they're going to want to reassure the public, what that is. But I think for the time being, until we
You
get
as well,
some
sir.
more
You as
facts,
well.
I think law enforcement and the prosecutors are going to be very
Please
careful about what they
stay
release.
safe.
Sure. All right, Carl, thanks so much. You've been so great to speak
your
with
best
here.
and
Do you have any
enjoy.
final thoughts or anything else that comes
Appreciate
to
you
mind
swinging
as we
by.
continue to follow
Really
the
do.
details
Thank
of
you.
this incident?
Yeah, I just want to offer thanks to all the officers and the agents that are working. They're going to be working around the clock. I've been in that situation. I've had many holidays ruined because of these type of things. Whether it's a terrorism incident or some other type of thing, there are people that are going to be missing out on Thanksgiving because of this. So I think one of the things that we can all be grateful for is that we've got dedicated professionals working to keep us all safe.
Absolutely. So thankful for them and the work that they do in keeping everybody safe. Carl Schmay, thank you so much, former head of the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. We really appreciate having you on. You've been really great and so knowledgeable to speak with as we followed all of these developments.
Hey, thanks, Lexi. I hope you have a nice Thanksgiving.
You too. Thanks so much. Stay safe and enjoy your holiday.
You too.
Excuse me, my co-host.
All right, so we are going to continue following this. Still so much more to get to. As I mentioned, we just heard from New York City Mayor Eric Adams. While he was speaking, we haven't had a chance to bring it to you here just yet, but we also have another live event that we're keeping our eyes on here. And this, again, is the U.S. Attorney of the Western District of New York, who's going to be speaking here also on the Rainbow Bridge incident. So let's step away for another break and take you back out to more of this live coverage in 2 minutes.
Yeah, man, them's the facts. It's crazy. Come on, get up. Get up, crazy. Come on. Yeah, I thought I had already gotten past that part. Apparently not. Wow. Oh no. Oh no.
Right now that there's no evidence that points
Yeah,
to
I'm
terrorist activity
really bad at this.
from what
obviously.
happened today. We're also now
Sorry.
getting in video that we want to bring to you here that was posted by
This is,
CBP
getting
earlier
ridiculous.
today. And in the distance of this
Gotta keep
video, it's
doing
very
this.
quick, about 5 seconds
Get it
long. You
right.
can see the vehicle in which this happened to going airborne off into the background. So we're going to play it out for you a couple of times here. Let's just watch this. And you'll take a look in the very back of your screen here. That is where this car, this vehicle, jumps up and goes airborne. So we're just getting this video in here again and again. You're watching this replay here of what was released on social media. So a glimpse into some video that we're now getting here of this incident that happened on the Rainbow Bridge. Let's take a quick break here. We still have much more to get to. We'll be back right after this in 2 minutes.
Here you go with this shit. Always got these breaks, man. Let me get you an actual a good one of this. Something else. This is not working. Ain't working. That ain't working. Here's a better shot of it. There's a better shot. See what the hell I'm throwing it. So we obviously know that I don't know what the hell I'm throwing. Yeah, that's obvious. Yeah. This is definitely a better shot of what. Just gotta play.
Of what we've been able to see from this incident in particular. In the meantime, we've heard from numerous officials today, but we've also had the chance to hear from New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who also spoke. He had initially had a planned media briefing today for the parade, for the events that surround Thanksgiving, that he wanted to address the media on, but we haven't had a chance to play this out for you yet. We're not sure if he does mention the Rainbow Bridge incident as well, but regardless, they have ramped up security throughout New York ahead of Thanksgiving. So let's take you out to this New York City safety briefing here next.
And we have 9 performance groups. We have 7 new character balloons. So this year we have the big
died in this incident that happened at the border.
Here to tell you exactly what I've seen.
Situation as it all unfolds right now here on Live Now from Fox. I do want to continue to give you the latest updates all in real time as we do wait for those to happen. I do want to play out the UN Security Council briefing talking about the matters in Israel and Hamas as we take a continued live look here at some of the shots at Rainbow Bridge.
The bombs and the siege, those arbitrarily detained, and all those suffering from occupation and racial discrimination, apartheid. We have a few days to mobilize to stop the war against the Palestinian people.
They're going to switch over here in a second. It's not that I don't care about that situation. I do. I really do. I don't know how to feel about that situation for a few reasons. You know, I would love to have a discussion about it, like a real discussion. That's not what I'm here for right now, so I'm not even playing that right now. They're getting ready to put this dude on up in the corner here. And yeah, he says a couple funny things.
And I do want to go out to a live look that we are getting right now at the Rainbow Bridge. Let's listen in right here. Looks like a news conference of some sort will be happening. Let's listen right here on Live Now.
Ricky, R-I-C-K-I-E.
Wilson, you said last.
Right.
All right, and then talk to us about what you were doing.
I work for Gray Line, and we're laid off this time of year. There was 2 witnesses I know, myself and another guy. And I came down to the One Niagara building to see how the sales guy was doing. And I closed the door to my car, and about 30 feet from me, I seen something airborne. I first thought it was an airplane. It looked like slow motion. And I said, my God, it's a car. And it's a vehicle, and it's flying through the air. He hit the concrete barrier, probably right at the signal, God knows how many thousands of feet before the bridge. It went airborne. The vehicle began to turn sideways and went under something overhead, and then it hit something over there. And my prayer was just, please don't let any of the officers, get hit over there. And then all of a sudden, black smoke, no explosion. We all heard, the people in the building heard it, the metal on metal. Then all of a sudden I saw black smoke and then fire. There was no explosion, just the black smoke. And then there was so much smoke, it was unbelievable. After a while, it probably took 5 minutes for law enforcement to get here. But that's exactly what happened.
How fast did you estimate that he was going?
Well, the other fella, the guy that drives the cab, says he thinks he was doing 100 miles an hour coming down this street here. But to me, it was like slow motion when the vehicle was up in the air. And he was just airborne. I can't imagine how it got that high up, so he had to be doing quite a speed for that to happen.
What was going through your mind?
Pardon me?
How were you feeling?
It was like a movie. It's strange because I can play it in my mind very fast or in slow motion. and it's like a movie. I'm saying, oh my, and then all of a sudden I see
They still
a
got this
vehicle.
whole thing shut
Looked
down.
like an SUV, but who knows what I saw, but it was a vehicle and it was in the air.
How close would you say it was to where the bridge inspectors would be?
When the vehicle went airborne, it was down by this signal. It hit something like a concrete thing that goes on an angle, and then it went up. It was up in the air, and it started to turn sideways, and then it went in. At that point, I was just praying that it didn't hit any of the Border Patrol officers.
So you didn't see it actually like strike where their booths are or anything like that, or?
It went underneath, and then metal hitting metal. That's exactly what I heard. It was metal on metal.
Where were you at the time?
I was right across the street. There's the one Niagara building directly across the street. It was like it was 50 feet away from me, but that's exactly what happened. That car did not get on top. It was airborne.
Were the flames shooting up in the sky?
No, it was black smoke, and then they weren't shooting up. It was like a bonfire or something like that. Then they eventually did get higher. They started out low, and then the flame got bigger and bigger, and then it went down. And by that time, the fire department, then I think they wanted everybody out of the area.
Could you see how many people were actually in the vehicle?
No, I could not see how many were in there. It was just airborne. The only thing I remember is it turned sideways and then hit over there. And at that point, don't let it hit anybody else. So this is the truth.
No, is it me or is it like, is there really, like, there's a lot going on, right? Right.
I
Things
just like,
similar to this.
Sorry about that. I just couldn't believe what
I'm
I
not
was
one
seeing.
for all
It
the,
was just like something you see in
serious.
Hollywood or something. And like, it's strange because I can replay it either in slow motion or fast. But it looked at that point when the vehicle was in the air, it was like it was moving 30 or 40 miles an hour.
And how did you happen to be here?
I came down. We're seasonal tour guides, and we get laid off in the winter. So I came down here to talk to the sales guy just to see how things are going, rather than stay home and get bigger than I already am. Just to come down to shoot the breeze. I've been a guide here in Niagara Falls for 15 years.
Have you spoken to Homeland Security? Did they interview you at all?
Yes, the FBI came to my house. I gave them a statement, and then finally, but before I gave them a statement, because I gave the officer my license, and he said, I said, if I can help you, he took my license, my name and number. I'm seeing all this stuff on the news that was inaccurate, and the news had already called me, but then they just called. I just had an interview with them. They came to my house maybe 35, 40 minutes ago.
Can you spell your first and last name again?
Ricky, R-I-C-K-I-E Wilson.
And that was the FBI that interviewed you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
They didn't say not to talk to anybody, but I'm seeing all this stuff that's inaccurate. This is exactly what I saw. There is cameras. I informed them on some of the one Niagara inside, and they should be able to play footage back. But that's what I seen.
I mean, given all your years being a tour guide down here, is this just unlike anything you've ever seen?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Other than we get people from all over the world and we use some interesting stuff, but we love it. Yeah, 15 years. So I'm glad I could help you guys out. There was only 2 witnesses that I know of, me and this other guy, but there were 2 other fellas there. I think they were from Turkey, and they were saying they were seeing somebody kept circling, going in circles, perhaps arguing with somebody in a car. I don't know. All I seen is it go through the air. And
it was definitely on this side of the border.
It was on this side, yes, sir. Yes, it was. Right over there by the light. It hit that cement thing. I'm assuming it hit the cement because I seen all the debris. But I mean, how did it get up there? I mean, this thing was up in the air. I know it sounds like I'm crazy, but the car was airborne. And not 3 or 4 feet. I mean, up there.
Ricky, the fact that this is all happening, the day before Thanksgiving, busiest travel day, one of them of the year, does that make this a little bit harder?
When people don't know what's going on, of course. That's why I'm down here, to tell you exactly what I seen. I don't know what happened. All I know is that vehicle was 10, 15 feet in the air before it hit the building. And probably right by that, somewhere around that light. It's just hard to believe. It's just, I have no reason to make anything up or anything. It's a miracle I'm doing this well in front of all these cameras. Of course, I was a disc jockey years ago, but that's another story.
We can tell, Ricky. We can tell.
I I don't know. It got to the border, and there's an overhead thing, and by that time the vehicle started to come down, and it went underneath it. It had to have, because it would have taken that out, and then it kind of like disappeared out of range a little bit. But I know it just beyond that, it hit one of the things where the security officers are, and I'm just thanking God for answered prayer that none of the Border Patrol guys, one fella I heard was injured, but I'm only here to let you know the facts of what really
Ricky's
happened.
just here for the facts.
What I
That's
saw.
it.
Ricky, thank you.
He's not
We're
gonna
glad
let
you're okay.
He's not gonna let
Yes, I
anybody
do. I'm
tell
on
anybody.
8000 Porter Road, Lot 6, Niagara Falls, New York.
Said there were inaccurate media reports. Could you explain a little bit about?
Well, one of the reports I heard was the vehicle came from Canada, came over here and blew up, and that's not accurate. So I'm glad I could help you. I would have hung around there. I did give the police my information, and they just kind of wanted everybody out of the area at that point, so I headed out.
About what time was it?
Oh, gosh, I'm not sure.
Was it before noon?
It had to be somewhere around noon. It was sometime around noon time. There wasn't a lot of people here. I know there was people in the building, and it kind of shook when the metal hit the metal. It wasn't an explosion because it was metal on metal. And then people started to come out of the building like, what happened? And I had said to the sales guy, I said, my God, I said, this car just went flying through looked like an SUV. It looked like, maybe I'm wrong, but it looked like a black vehicle. SUV. My first thought was a plane, but it wasn't. But it was, I don't know how he got that high up. I really don't.
Well, we're glad you're okay and you're safe, given that you were so many feet away.
Yeah, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I could come down and
all right, this was Ricky, a tour guide in
Ricky
Canada.
The tour guide. Oh, man. So, I'm sure they're going to do their little... This was an way earlier, obviously. I mean, everybody knows at this point what went on. I was in the weeds kind of on this. Not in the weeds, but little couple things going on. Let's put it that way. Trying to go forward to they actually... Yeah, like I said, they're going to take another break, and then it's like, or they say they're taking a break, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, they take their little break, and yeah, so. Oh,
the facts that we have to pull in from this case. The investigators that are on the ground have a lot of work to do before they kind of figure out and get a handle and grip of exactly what happened here. I did hear initial reports of a terror attack with explosives in the vehicle, and now we have witnesses saying that there was no explosive seen in the vehicle. So, there's going to be a lot of investigative work that's going to have to go into this before we can jump to any conclusions. The last thing we want to do is create alarm and panic out there for something that may be completely not what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And anytime that there's sources that are involved in a story, you and I both know how that can go. In many cases, sources can be 100% right. In other cases, they could think that they know something very well and feel very confident about it, but it might turn out not to be true. And 1,000%, we are going to continue to follow the facts and hear from officials here as we continue to get more information in. In the meantime, we do know that there was an explosion there that happened at the border. So, Joe, I guess, what are you hoping to hear in the next couple of hours here? What do you think the next bit of information we'll be getting is?
Well, they're obviously going to speak to every witness that was out there. They're going to review all cameras that they can find. They're going to try to get to the bottom of whether or not this was a terror attack or something other than that. Just some, lone wolf type of deal, or just a car exploding after going a high rate of speed and crashing into a barrier. So again, the investigation I predict is going to change a couple times as the investigators are out there and gathering evidence
in the United States
and information from witnesses. So we're going to have to just kind of sit back and wait and see what they find. But in the meantime, as a country itself, we're going to have to tighten up our belts here. I was a 9/11 first responder. I worked in the NYPD. I was a detective there. We take terror very, very seriously, and we monitor the world stage and what's going on. And we're always looking at things that are happening, whether it's something that's going to turn into a terror attack or maybe it's something else. It's an eye opener for sure for all law enforcement.
We have seen, and we're trying to get our hands on this video too. It's on Fox News right now. They've been showing some surveillance video that they're getting now from the border where this happened. So I'm curious to hear how a video like that's showing this happening from a surveillance perspective, how that could help the officials as they investigate this and try to determine if this was a terror attack or not.
Well, that's also going to be something they're going to have to look at, what type of cameras there are, how close they can actually zoom in with the cameras. They're probably not going to be able to see in the vehicle, I mean, to be honest with you, from a camera perspective. But what they will be able to see is if this person did accelerate at a high rate of speed after passing what I was told was a security checkpoint, and there was a second security checkpoint that they were allegedly heading to. They'll see if they accelerated to a high rate of speed and maybe the type of explosion that happened at the end. They'll review it. They'll probably bring on some experts to maybe give them a grip on, what happens when a vehicle hits a barrier at, possibly 80, 90 miles an hour. Is this type of an explosion that would mimic that? That's all stuff that's going to be looked at to try to get to the bottom of this. And then the evidence that's on the ground now. I know I've been hearing that the car is basically disintegrated, but there will still be evidence there and traces for them to look at to see if there was any type of explosive in the car, other than obviously the gasoline that it's fueled by.
Yeah, and this is a time too when everyone is really on high alert. We're a day out from Thanksgiving. We're in the holiday swing. People are traveling. They are on the roads. They are in the skies. Everyone is very much on high alert ahead of Thanksgiving and really into the end of the year. This comes especially at a time that we've seen really a lot of division across the country, of course, Joe, too, with the war still ongoing and differences in opinions and whatnot. So how have you seen New York City in particular really ramp up patrols? We've seen that before for big events, anytime there's a big parade, a big holiday, but now especially to have an incident like this, in addition to that, how have you seen things really pick up?
Well, in New York City, we're always on guard. That's something we don't take lightly here in New York City. So every parade, everything that you see going on in the city, every major event is always going to have top-notch security. And when they see stuff like this, again, they monitor everything going on in a world stage. The NYPD has a broader scope than what most people actually think. We have detectives all over the world that monitor this stuff from abroad and report back to our intelligence. And we get the best and the most accurate information that's out there. So watching this is just another thing. They're going to be monitoring it just the way we are now. They'll get all the inside facts on what actually happened here and how they can prepare themselves with the Thanksgiving Day Parade and some of the big events that are coming up in New York City. Again, New York City is a prime target for terror. I mean, we all know that, very highly populated, but the way that the NYPD patrols it, it's top notch, and it's not a soft target by any stretch of the imagination. We make it very difficult. I mean, we cover all the bases when it comes to protecting New York City.
Absolutely, and we can see this video that we're getting in here. We're getting a couple of different perspectives. Obviously, a ton of law enforcement. There seems to be a ton of people who are on top of this very breaking and fluid scene here. Joe, talk to us about just the response that they likely got in a situation like this in a very busy place with people commuting over the holiday week and weekend.
Yeah, well, immediately the thought is going to be terror, and that's natural, and that's the way it should go, because we have to rule that out first. So the FBI will immediately, their field office will immediately get notified and respond to that location. Their investigative teams, their evidence response teams will all be on scene. They'll be picking through this scene piece by piece, again, trying to figure out if this was an actual terror incident or just, two lunatics in a car that decided to drive into a barrier. I mean, it's going to be that black or white, so to speak, until we find out more details about the occupants of this vehicle, which I've been told are deceased. They're going to try to figure out who the owner of the vehicle is and who these occupants are, and they're going to go and do what they normally do with these people. They're going to go to their homes. They're going to go get out search warrants and look through all their stuff and find out if they were parts of any.
Like, this is, I apologize, 'cause this is all prior to everything that's out there right now. So it's not like I'm not trying to make this a thing. I'm just replaying what was played. But we all know right now that this wasn't a terror attack, or it was, and it's being covered up. I don't know. I'm not. I'm right now. I'm having a little trouble with my co-host. Thought they were replaying the video. I'm not trying to drag this out at all. I think I'm gonna have to shut stream if I can't. Waiting for you idiots to play
With
this.
the bare minimum at the very least. So what do you think the timeline will look like for us here? Do you think we will have a clear idea if this was a terror attack or not in the next couple of hours?
Yeah, I believe they're going to be working on this fast and furious, especially if it wasn't a terror attack. They want to get that information out, because right now, in most people's mind,
like I said, I'm not trying to drag this thing out or whatever. Everybody knows what happened already. There's no point in going over it and over it and over it and over and over and over. I'm not one of them guys. I'm not going to start doing that now. So, we all know the situation. It wasn't a terrorist attack, right? Right. And, that's what they say. So, what was it? Do we have medical emergency? What? Could be 100 million things. I think my dog's got his shit right now, though. So that's more important, honestly, to me right now. God bless the two people that passed away. My heart, my thoughts and prayers are with them and their family and friends right now. And God, whatever caused it, jeez, God only knows. I mean, nobody does 100 miles an hour at a thing on purpose unless they completely have lost their mind or whatever. I don't know. I don't know why you would do it, right? I don't know why a lot of people do a lot of shit they do. I don't know why I've done some of the shit that I've done. But there's nothing like this. I'll tell you that's for sure. Yeah. All right. So anyways, God bless, all the best. Thank you. I appreciate everyone. You rock. I'll be back. It'll be better. I promise. This was a bad one. A really bad one. Peace.